The Intercity 125 has been serving the British railway network since 1976, and whilst many are now rotting in storage, enjoying a life in preservation, or migrating for further work abroad, a small amount still ran in passenger service to the end of 2025 and even beyond, marking almost 50 years of service on Britain's railways. Today, we'll be looking at the very last HST operations in England as we travel from Exeter in Devon down to Penzance in Cornwall for one last ride on GWR's HST on one of the country's most scenic railway routes. Now join me as the journey continues. A very good morning from Exeter St Davids. Despite the name and location, this is the main and largest station serving the city of Exeter and the second busiest station in the county of Devon in the southwest of England, which opened in 1844 and was designed by Isambard Kingdom Brunel, a name which will be mentioned again later in the trip. The main concourse leaves very little to be desired though and is rather small, but you will find a WH Smith and a Starbucks as well as ticketing facilities operated by GWR, who we'll be travelling with today. Speaking of which, our train this morning is the 0800 departure to Penzance, departing from platform 6. Like most UK railway stations, Exeter St Davids has automated ticket gates in operation, and I bought my ticket online ahead of today's trip, so I just needed to scan it on the reader here to head on through. As we head up the footbridge to our platform, we can see numerous old signage and murals depicting the station's history, which I have to say I rather like. I really wish more UK stations would have this. Exeter St Davids has three main railway operators, but there are often occasional visitors as seen here. South Western Railway operates an hourly service from here to London Waterloo, which I will have a video on next year. Cross Country, who run services from Cornwall and Devon to the north of England and Scotland, and Great Western Railway, the station's main operator. GWR runs local services to Devon and Cornwall from here and even has its own train maintenance facility adjacent to platform 6. They also operate long-distance services to London Paddington, Bristol and South Wales using these Hitachi Class 800 and Class 802 bi-mode units. These trains have replaced the majority of GWR's ageing Intercity 125 or HST fleet on these routes, with only a small handful remaining in passenger service at the time of filming, the one we're taking today arriving after this Class 800 departs for London. "20 minutes before departure, our train arrives from Lero Depot in Plymouth to form our service to Penzance, and one thing that's immediately apparent to me is how filthy the train is. GWR's remaining HST sets have been shortened, refurbished and rebranded as Class 255 Castle class sets, formed of two Class 43 diesel power cars and four British Rail Mark III passenger coaches from the 1970s, the first sets entering service in British Rail's Western region in 1976. At the time of filming, only 4 sets remained in active passenger service, being relegated to services between Plymouth and Penzance, but with one daily extension to Exeter and back. Each power car has been named after a castle along GWR's regional network, 43092 at the front being named after Tregenna Castle in St Ives, but the power car at the rear is particularly notable. 43198 is not only the last ever production power car from the total number of Class 43s manufactured, but is also named after 2 of GWR's train drivers who sadly passed away in fatal railway accidents. Driver Stan Martin was the driver in the Ufton Nervet rail crash in 2004, whilst driver Brian Cooper was involved in the Ladbroke Grove rail crash in 1999, one of the worst railway accidents in 20th century Britain that led to automatic train protection requirements on the Great Western Main Line. As we board the train, note the sliding automatic doors, which were retrofitted to the Mark III coaching stock in recent years to meet disability requirements. I do miss the slam doors on these trains. Whilst the sliding doors are fun, there's something just satisfying about opening and closing the slam doors. Know what I mean? All of GWR's remaining HSTs are standard class only in a 2x2 configuration, with mostly airline seats and 1 pair of table seats per carriage. As this is a regional service, there's no reserved seating on board, so this window seat on the left hand side will do, the reason for which we'll see shortly. Our route will see us cross Devon down to Plymouth, after which we enter Cornwall to continue on to Penzance. Remember though, this is a regional service, so we'll have quite a few stops before we reach journey's end, arriving into Penzance at 11:12. Our HST will take 3 hours and 12 minutes to cover a distance of 130 miles. We depart Exeter on time at 8 AM. One thing that did annoy me was how the dirt on the windows made it even more difficult to see outside at first, but not to worry, it gets better after the sun rises.
Quick security announcement while we're anywhere on the railway network if you see.
Not long after leaving Exeter, we run alongside the Devon coastline and its accompanying seawall after passing Starcross. This part of the route has been around since 1846 and runs along the open sea at the base of cliffs for 4 miles. The line is subject to frequent storm damage, though an extension of the seawall was recently completed in 2023 to combat this, as evidenced here at Dawlish Station. The first time I visited the seawall in 2014 was back when works were about to commence, and I have fond memories of seeing first-rate Western liveried HSTs here back when they were the backbone of GWR's Intercity services. You'll have to excuse the camera quality from 2014 me though. Now I should mention here that the name Intercity 125 comes from the train's top speed of 125 miles per hour, a speed these trains regularly reach during their heyday. Nowadays, however, no Intercity 125 still in regular passenger service exceeds 100 miles per hour, and this was the case for our train today along the South Devon main line. Our journey along the seawall ends at our next stop of Teignmouth, and with that, it's time to take a look at the interior. The seats used on GWR's HSTs are the Grammer IC3000 as seen on the OBB Railjet for example. Not the comfiest, but still has adequate base padding as well as decent ergonomics and a winged headrest. I also like the GWR logo embedded on the headrest here and at the back of the seat. Very nice touch. Each duo seat has foldable armrests on the middle and the aisle, with legroom being pretty decent though definitely not the best. Each seat also has a foldable and extendable tray table just in front, which is pretty good, especially for the routes these trains did before their retirement, though I rode several HSTs the day of this recording and some were definitely in a better state than others. Under each pair of duo seats is a standard 3-pin UK power socket, with there being 2 on the table seats that are operable with switches, but these are not well suited for downward power sockets. Case in point my lead slightly bending once putting it in. The seats also have seat reservation ticket holders from their Intercity days, not that they were used much in their twilight operations though. And finally, a coat hook is present just next to the headrest of the seat in front. All in all, this interior remains superior to most modern fleets in Britain nowadays, despite being a bit run down, so to have all of this on what is now essentially a regional train is pretty good going. Good job GWR. We're now arriving into Newton Abbot, a major junction station in Devon for the branch serving Torquay and Penzance, which sees extra summer services by both GWR and Cross Country. We, however, will be continuing further along the main line towards Plymouth as we head further south towards Cornwall. We then arrive into Totnes, with a glimpse of the South Devon Heritage Railway seen upon arrival. The station here serves the Devon towns of Totnes and Dartington, and towering above is Totnes Castle, which can just about be seen here. As we continue on towards Plymouth, it may be worth mentioning now what replaced the last of the GWR HSTs at the December timetable change. Whilst not fully in service yet, the routes operated by the Castle class HSTs are using Class 175 Coradia units, the former backbone of Welsh long-distance services for almost 20 years. Transport for Wales withdrew these units in 2023, where they remained in storage for almost 2 years, with GWR officially signing the lease for the trains in late 2024 for use primarily in Devon and Cornwall. A couple of sets can even be seen stored at the GWR maintenance facility at Lara Depot just to the left. Plymouth is the largest settlement in Devon and is located around 6 miles from the neighbouring county of Cornwall, and where a fair amount of GWR's intercity services to the southwest terminate. One thing you will notice here is the amount of enthusiasts out to either ride or photograph the HSTs as they approach their twilight weeks of operation, Plymouth being the main location north of Cornwall to do so at the time of filming.
We'll be calling at Devonport Stockyards, Keam, St Hugo Ferry Road, Saltash, St Germans, Menheliot, Lisgard, Bodmin Parkway, Loswilliel, Parr, St Austell, Truro, Redruth, Camborne, Hale, St Earth, and Penzance.
Before we head into Cornwall though, we make a quick stop at Devonport, which isn't long enough for our 4-car HST, and as such, boarding and alighting is done from the front 2 coaches. The stop is popular for local workers in the area, as His Majesty's Naval Base Devonport is located nearby, one of 3 operating bases in the UK for the Royal Navy, which can be seen below as we head towards our next scenic highlight of the trip, the Royal Albert Bridge. This 667 metre long bridge was opened by Prince Albert in 1859 and crosses the River Tamar alongside the adjacent Tamar Bridge that opened in the 20th century for road traffic. The bridge was designed by Isambard Kingdom Brunel, who passed away later on in 1859, with his name being engraved on both portals as a memorial. Crossing the bridge marks our entry into the county of Cornwall, and we immediately call at Saltash station at the end of it. Leaving the station offers us great views of the River Tamar we cross to get to Cornwall as daybreak draws near. It's also worth mentioning that our route now follows the Cornish main line, which is limited to 70 miles per hour on most of the route. Over 2 hours of our trip is the stretch between Plymouth and Penzance, primarily due to the hilly terrain of the route, which, whilst limiting, does allow us to appreciate the scenery some more, especially on an unexpectedly nice day like today. Free Wi-Fi is also available throughout the train and was easy to connect to, though this varied in signal throughout the route, which is to be expected. Some parts are very rural. As we continue through Cornwall, let's look at the rest of the train. Coach C is where the dedicated wheelchair space can be found. This has been modified extensively to allow the Mark III carriages to meet post-2020 disability regulations and include call for aid buttons and flip-up seats amongst other things. Perhaps the most important upgrade was the wheelchair accessible toilet, which was out of order when I first arrived but was up and running minutes later. I guess I have the magic touch, eh? Regardless, I found this to be pretty clean and provide generous space throughout. The same could be said for the standard toilets, though let's just say they didn't smell the nicest. There are also other similar compartments which act as crew and storage rooms for the onboard staff, and also in the vestibules are route maps of GWR's regional network in Wales and the South West. Not that the HSTs covered much of it at the time of filming. Luggage storage is available through the overhead racks for smaller items, as well as numerous larger racks by the vestibules for larger suitcases and items. At the rear of the train in Coach A is where there's storage space for up to 6 bikes. It's also worth mentioning that whilst all the other slam doors have been replaced on the Mark IIIs, one was maintained for this section to allow the guard to conduct their respective duties. Also next to the bike storage is a wheelchair ramp and a ladder in the event of an emergency. Meanwhile, we're able to see through to the leading power car in Coach D and can even get a sneak peek at the engine room, if you look closely. We're now arriving into Parr, which is where you can change for the branch line to New Quay. The very last GWR HST service actually made it to New Quay as part of the send-off of the Intercity 125 fleet, which frequently served the branch on Intercity services from London until the retirement in 2019 as part of GWR's extended summer services. We then go on to call at St Austell, where we not only see a Class 802 heading to London, but also a Class 175 pair on a crew training run back to Plymouth, a sign of things to come on routes between Devon and Cornwall. In the background is the stunning view of Truro Cathedral, which dates back to the late 19th and early 20th century. This indicates that we're arriving into the city of Truro, which has the distinct title of being the only city in the county of Cornwall and the southernmost city in the UK as a whole, with a population of around 21,000 people. Here you can also change for the local branch to Falmouth, again also operated by GWR.
Worry about looking at it.
Later on, as we leave Hale, we cross the Copper House Pool, which when constructed in 1788 was originally intended to be used as a storage reservoir to manage the high tides that occur in the area, and is now today a nature reserve under the protection of the RSPB, the mudflats attracting many ducks and waders for feeding during both autumn and winter. Our penultimate stop on this trip is St Erth, where you can change for the branch to St Ives. Also take note of the old semaphore-style signals here, with Cornwall being one of the few remaining places in Britain to still use these, and with our departure from here, it's the home stretch and the end of the line for Intercity 125 operations in England. As much as I'll miss the HSTs operating in England, I do think they've overstayed their welcome, and replacing them with newer and modern rolling stock was necessary, even if the latter can often be much less comfortable. It's also a shame that GWR let them get into such a poor state before their retirement, but I do think the 175s will be a great replacement for the remainder of their routes, and the Intercity 125 can bow out of service, having gone above the call of duty for Britain's railways. As for the future, well, their 5th decade in service still sees them with ScotRail for at least the next year or two, and whilst many others are enjoying a life in preservation in Britain, the remainder are either rotting in storage or have found their way to both Mexico and Nigeria to work services there, so it's not quite the end of them just yet. My ticket today was an off-peak day return, costing £20 including a third off with my railcard discount, which is pretty good value for a journey of over 3 hours, so I can't really complain there. Almost 10 minutes later, we passed both St Michael's Mount in the background as well as Penzance's Long Rock Depot, where GWR's Intercity, Regional and Night Riviera fleets are maintained. Moments later, we reached journey's end at Penzance, the furthest south you can go by rail in the UK, 2 minutes ahead of schedule. Now it's over to you. Did you ever travel on the Intercity 125 when they were still in service in England? Do you have any favourite memories of them or travel experiences you want to share? Let me know in the comments. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please like and share it to aid the channel's growth, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications for more content such as this weekly. There's no better way to end the year than at the furthest south you can go in the UK by rail, but needless to say, I'll be back in 2026, refreshed and with some incredible content, the first of which will be out next Monday. Thanks so much for joining me this year, and I look forward to taking you with me on my trips in 2026.